Luzon. Good afternoon, Taga Luzon, and welcome to our last leg for Zonal Public Consultation 2023. My name is Margaret, and I'm your host for this afternoon's public online consultation engagement. And to formally open our program, I ask everyone to please bow down your heads as we begin with our opening prayer to be followed by our Philippine national anthem.
No.
Our Heavenly Father, the fount of all goodness and grace, the cause of wisdom, the source of intelligence, we welcome you, O Lord, to this auspicious gathering of your beloved, who continuously give you thanks for every opportunity to learn something new and become fruitful to the works of your creation. We humbly come to you, not because we are worthy, but because we find ourselves in need of you, who is our strength and our hope, to continue despite the challenges we face in health, prosperity, and our solidarity with one another. We pray that today's gathering, made possible by the grace of advancements in technology and social media, becomes successful in its endeavors, so we can offer it back to you as our humble offering to honor you, glorify you, and love you through our deeper connection with everyone. May we find bliss in today's session and become more productive children and co-creators of the earth. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, ewas ang sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tulang awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iingin, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magtitingin. Luman ang araw ng walhaging pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya na pagkay mga aking, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
To start things off, we would like to thank you all for gracing your time to be with us in this event. Let's acknowledge the presence of our esteemed commissioners. Commissioner Lorenzo R. Reyes, Commissioner Josefa C. Sererity, Commissioner Salex Aliboga, Espinosa Aliboga, and Commissioner Alexander D. Dumpa. To everyone here, to our most valued deans in Luzon region, to our notable guests and our beloved stakeholders, this event is to listen to you and to gather your comments as well as your input regarding the two policy initiatives, the National Legal Education Research Agenda and the Ladderized Juris Doctor Master of Legal Studies program. We commence our program this afternoon by reading to you our house rules to have an orderly public online consultation engagement. Firstly, we advise everyone to kindly sit upright, turn on your videos and mute your microphone when not speaking during the consultation. All participants are also enjoined to kindly observe order and courtesy at all times. Use the raise hand feature in Zoom to ask questions, comments, and/or feedback during the open forum. Or you may send ahead your questions, comments, and/or feedback in the Zoom chat box. And finally, we also ask everyone to kindly stay present, stay focused, and participative in this public online consultation engagement. We remind everyone that this is being recorded and filed under our Media and Communications Unit. In any case you have the need to have a copy, please let us know so we can process your request. Now we're all set, and may I ask everyone to click the heart emoticon in their Zoom as we welcome the message from our lovely chairperson, Anna Marie Melanie B. Trinidad.
To the law deans and administrators and other stakeholders, as well as LEB officials and staff present in this consultation, good afternoon. The vision and mission of the Legal Education Board to continually improve legal education throughout the country requires the institution of relevant and meaningful policies that cater to the needs of each of the agency's stakeholders. These policies serve as a framework for ensuring that the demands of the legal education community are met. The legal education community, on the other hand, faces many challenges, and it is vital that we work together to find measures that resolve rather than complicate them. The LEB is in the process of introducing several advancements that will ensure that our policies will stay relevant in these ever-changing times. Our proposals are responses to the call for an empirical and analytical policymaking and the innate need for recognition. On top of the agenda is the National Legal Research Agenda, which aims to encourage the development of legal research in the legal education and professional community, and provide an avenue for greater participation of legal scholars in nation building. Then we are also proposing a new law program, the Ladderized Juris Doctor program. Through the years, we have realized that there are legal and justice issues that may be served by persons trained in the law who may not necessarily have been admitted to the practice of law in the Philippines. These persons could enroll themselves in a law program so that they could eventually acquire the legal knowledge and necessary skills that could serve them best in their professional arena. For the students, however, who have enrolled in a law program with the ultimate goal of obtaining a roll of attorney number, the Ladderized JD program will provide them with a more holistic human development before earning a degree. Either category of students will acquire better opportunities for professional development. These consultations provide a platform for our stakeholders to voice their concerns, make suggestions, and provide feedback on the proposed policies. Your input is truly valuable and will help shape the future of the legal education system. Certainly one which would be in harmony with the mission and vision of the Legal Education Board. Thank you, and once again, good afternoon to each of you.
Indeed, everyone's feedback this afternoon is valuable. Thank you for those welcome remarks, Chairperson Melanie. At this point, we will now hear the presentation of the first policy proposal, which is the National Legal Education Research Agenda. This will be presented by Mr. Gabriel Thomas R. Garcia, the head of the Standards Development Unit of the Legal Education Board. Sir Thomas, you may now start your presentation.
Thank you, Marga. To Chairperson Trinidad, to our esteemed commissioners, to our deans, partners, and stakeholders, a pleasant afternoon to you all. If you can remember, during the previous months, We here at the Standards Development and Regulatory Office had sent two of its policy initiatives for your comment. I am here to discuss one of those initiatives, the National Legal Education Research Agenda. First things first, let me give you a brief overview of my discussion. At first, we will try to answer the question, what is the NLERA? This is followed by a discussion on its rationale and basis. And for the meat of our discussion, we will tackle the priority research areas underlined within the NLERA. This includes legal education and legal education management, doctrinal research, disciplinary research, interdisciplinary research. Almost lastly, we will discuss the standards for ethical research and a provision for the funding and support for scholarship and a brief summary of my discussion. Next slide. To answer the question, what is the NLERA? Put simply, the National Legal Education Research Agenda is an initiative of the Legal Education Board that sets as the framework to guide, harness, foster legal education research and scholarship in the country. The LEB, through the NLERA, wishes to promote, formulate, and recommend developmental plans, policies, priorities, and programs that encourage the furtherance of legal research in legal education and the professional community. It is also aimed at targeting to obtain the involvement of legal researchers and the legal academy, also to provide grants and capacity building for legal scholarship. Similar to other national educational government agencies, the LEB recognizes the value of empirical research and rigorous planning. Aside from supporting the LEB's individual endeavors, seeking to conduct and thus expanding legal research, it is the LEB's hope that the NLERA will also aid in the creation of a solid foundation for the formulation, implementation, and evaluation of any policy in fulfillment of the LEB's statutory mandate. Next slide. As targeted earlier, we will discuss the priority research areas themes underlined within the NLERA. First and foremost is legal education and legal education management. This area faces the questions on the standards of legal education, issues of educational leadership, education rights, and professional preparation. Next slide. Within these areas, we have identified several main themes to be tackled. This include teaching methods in legal education, licensure examination performance and preparation, law school management, stakeholder welfare, academic freedom and education rights, admissions assessment, quality assurance and curricular studies, leadership development of students. As you can see, under these areas, we have also identified several sub-themes. The purpose of these consultations is to solicit your comments so that we may expand and enhance these research areas and also these sub-themes. Next slide. Following that is doctrinal research. This is research on any of the topical divisions of the law with a focus on doctrinal restatement or recasting. Next slide. Again, we have identified key themes upon this area. This include constitutional and political law and jurisprudence, social legislation and jurisprudence, criminal law and jurisprudence, civil law and jurisprudence, commercial law and jurisprudence, public and private international law and cases, legal ethics, rules and jurisprudence, remedial and procedural law and jurisprudence, Sharia and Islamic law and jurisprudence, and laws of indigenous communities. These programs and the themes under it are more familiar to those subjects within our basic law program. You may add which area themes that needs further focus on. Next slide. Following that is disciplinary research. This involves research on law as a discipline outside of professional writing. This may cover any policy analysis, test of legal proposition about society, economy, or the human experience, assessment of legal systems and institutions, critical, comparative, and historical inquiries and the philosophy of law. Here we have identified 5 topics. This include industry-related ethical formation and professional alignment, legal scholarship, legal philosophy and legal thinking, judicial administration management, and legal history. Next slide. Following that is disciplinary research. This involves studies that that approach both legal and non-legal questions that involve the law and other disciplines, either as separate disciplines or through the integration of scientific methods into legal thinking. Next slide. Whereas the research themes identified earlier fall within the traditional legal programs, this topic focuses on social legal scholarship, science, technology, and law pandemics and other crises, studies in support of harmonized national research development agenda for 2022 to 2028, and studies convergent with the National Legal Education Research Agenda. These areas are more informed of recent societal issues, and we also try to align our NLERA with other research agendas from the national government and from other educational agencies. Lastly, for the latter part of the NLERA, we discussed the standards for ethical research. Herein, the LEB emphasizes the need for upholding the standards for ethical research. This may be done through the promotion or the establishment of the Institutional Research Ethics Board or a research ethics compliance process. Lastly, for funding and support, the NLERA shall guide the LEB and other institutions in the provision of support and funding for legal scholarship. Simply put, when resources are made available, the LEB can support and also sustain research endeavors from individuals and also from LEIs that support and expand the National Legal Education Research Agenda. Next slide. In summary, the NLERA was formulated to address a specific need, that is promoting and strengthening legal research and by extension, legal education. Through coordination and communication with the LEB's partners and stakeholders and other key groups, the board has selected key areas with their corresponding themes and sub-themes. It is the hope of the LEB that these consultations would help expand and refine the research areas identified above. At the end of the day, the NLERA is a milestone for legal research and legal education. With assistance of our stakeholders and partners, we can expand and deepen the quality of legal research in service of legal education for the country. Thank you.
Thank you for that insightful presentation, Sir Thomas. Our virtual floor is now open as we are now ready to accept questions, comments, and or feedback with regard to the National Legal Education Research Agenda. You may click on the raise hand feature in Zoom or so that we can acknowledge you, or you may send your question, your comment, and or feedback through our Zoom chat box. Together with Sir Thomas in our open forum is the Chief Operating Officer of the Legal Education Board, Attorney Aaron Mark Misa Dimaano, as well as our commissioners. May we ask also the response of the commissioner after each comment or question being raised. Thank you. Would anyone from our audience in the Zoom would like to share their thoughts? You may you may click the raise hand feature in Zoom at this time. We have our first question from our Zoom chat box. For the NLERA, where in the LEB mandate does it provide that the LEB is to provide funding mechanisms for research and other similar efforts? Again, for the NLERA, where in the LEB mandate does it provide that the LEB is to provide funding mechanisms for research and other similar efforts? May we ask the commissioner to please comment on the question?
Good afternoon, Margaret. Good afternoon, everyone, and to our esteemed deans of the different colleges of law in the National Capital Region and Luzon area. So under Section 3, Paragraph B, 3 of the RA 7662, the Legal Education Reform Act, one of the specific objectives of legal education is to enhance the legal research abilities of the students for them to analyze, articulate, and apply the law effectively, as well as to allow them to have a holistic approach to legal problems and issues. Based on the objectives of the Legal Education Reform Act of 1993, it is implied in the duties and functions of Legal Education Board to provide opportunities for the realization of this objective, maybe in the form of support, soon maybe funding opportunity, because there are already several non-government organizations abroad who intimated their pledge to support legal research and scholarship. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. May we ask Sir Thomas and Attorney A, do you have additional input for that question?
Thank you, Marga. Thank you again, also COMSALEX. In addition to what COMSALEX said, the Legal Education Board, as a national government agency concerned with education, we have to support. The understanding is there that we have to support research in the formation of effective education for not just for our law students, but for law professionals. The NLERA seeks to provide assistance and a guiding framework for that endeavor. Thank you.
For our next comment, there is no explicit grant of authority similar to CHED, DepEd, and TESDA is given to LEB by the Legal Education Reform Act of 1993. In the absence of statutory grant in LEB, it might be challenging to justify with a DBM for its general appropriation for legal research. Again, there is one comment that says there is no explicit grant of authority similar to CHED, DepEd, and TESDA is given to LEB by the Legal Education Reform Act of 1993. In the absence of the statutory grant in LEB, it might be challenging to justify the DBM for its general appropriation for legal research. May we ask any of the commissioners to please say your response on that comment?
Hello, Margaret. As I have said a while ago, under Section 3, Paragraph B2 of RA 7662, it is explicitly provided that one of the objectives of legal education is to enhance legal research abilities of the students as well as the professors. It is deemed implied that in any education board or commission like CHED, TESDA, DepEd, there are three pillars of education. We have research, curriculum, and instruction. Therefore, to carry out its regulation as well as promotion of research and scholarship, under the three pillars, we have research as one of the important component for the regulation of legal education, and of course, to enrich the delivery of legal education in the country.
Thank you, Commissioner Salex. Next question, suppose the NLERA is approved in its entirety, what happens next? Would there be an application process to receive funding and resources for the research LEIs undertake under the NLERA? Suppose the NLERA is approved in its entirety, what happens next? Would there be an application process to receive funding and resources for the research LEIs undertake under the NLERA?
There will be a process. This is just a public consultation to solicit the deans and other stakeholders' inputs and insights to the legal education research agenda. Once this is approved, after integrating all the insights, comments, and input of the deans and different stakeholders, the Legal Education Board is going to conduct public orientation for us to be apprised of the processes and how this NLERA will be implemented by the Legal Education Board and the different legal education institutions, just like in any other agency like the OST, CHED, and any other agencies of the government, there will be a framework that will be presented to all legal education institutions, starting from public orientation, capability building. Of course, it's very important to capacitate our law deans, law professors, and students so that, of course, they will help the Legal Education Board in the realization of the legal education reform agenda, after which the guidelines for call for proposals and other processes for that matter, including ethical guidelines, also will be formulated by the Legal Education Board and will be cascaded to all legal education institutions in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Salex. Would you like to add, Sir Thomas?
Yes. Again, we'd like to thank the insights of Commissioner Salex. The NLERA is actually a milestone. It is but a single step in promoting the divergent research endeavors of individuals in the legal education community and also from legal education institutions as a whole. So once the NLERA is approved, we expect maybe an uproar of individual research endeavors from everyone. And when resources are made available, we can support those endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you for that additional input, Sir Thomas. Another question: will the LEIs draft their own agendas aligned to the identified areas of specialization according to the revised model law curriculum then? Will the LEIs draft their own agendas aligned to the identified areas of specialization according to the revised model law curriculum then? Sir Thomas, please.
Okay. Following the discretion of the law schools and also their individual specialization, yes, LEIs can very own pursue their own research agendas. The NLERA merely offers those areas that the LEB has identified through coordination with its stakeholders and also partners. The topics here, the NLERA, the LEIs may freely pursue whichever research topic or research agenda they may choose. Thank you.
Anyone from the school representatives that were sent and or the deans present this afternoon, would you like to raise your hand instead? Okay, so I see none. Last question perhaps for the National Legal Research Agenda Forum. May we ask how the LEB arrived at the research areas identified in the NLERA draft? May we ask how the LEB arrived at the research areas identified in the NLERA draft?
I think I can take this, Marga.
Yes, please, Sir Thomas.
As mentioned before, through the interactions of the LEB with its stakeholders, partners, we've identified several areas that needs further emphasis and further focus on in terms of educational research. We have identified several gaps. And through this, we have consolidated those responses and those communications, and we have come up with the NLERA. As mentioned before, this is only the first reiteration of the NLERA. We understand that the research landscape and also the legal landscape will have further research needs down the line. So we expect that the NLERA, similar with other research agendas of other educational agencies, will also evolve with those needs.
Thank you, Sir Thomas. I can see that our Dean from De La Salle Lipa, Dean Maria Isabel P. Romero, would like to speak. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you. La Salle Lipa already has research thesis writing and defense for its JD3 students. So I just want to know, my impression is we will have to tweak our guidelines to be able to comply with the NLERA. Is my understanding correct?
Is it okay, Dean, to please repeat it? Thank you.
All right, yes. For our JD3 students, third-year students, they already have thesis writing and defense. So my understanding is we have now to tweak our guidelines or the way we conduct the defense in order to comply with the suggestions of the NLERA. And this is true for the other legal institutions as well. Legal education institutions, I mean.
May we ask the commissioners to?
Thank you, Dean Romero, for your insight.
Thank you.
If you have already a standing research agenda for your institution, there is a need for us to harmonize. The contents of the NLERA is not really encompassing. It's a sort of a guideline for our legal education institution. As much as possible, it's important that we need to harmonize also. If there are some additions and inputs from your institution to enhance or enrich the NLERA, it is highly appreciated. And it is very important that the researches that our students are conducting should also harmonize and should unify with the NLERA so that we are on the same page for legal research and scholarship. The NLERA was drafted taking into account the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, as well as the developmental goal of the present administration. Just like in any other agency, we have also to unify and harmonize our research effort to contribute to the realization of the NLERA. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dean. Any other who would like to raise their concern or issues or feedback? Okay, I guess it's the last comment and or feedback from the LaSalle UPA. Before proceeding, mic test? Okay. So before proceeding to the second policy, let's have a 10-minute wellness break. Time check, it is now 10:02 p.m. Please be back at 10:12 p.m. Thank you. Thank you once again for your presence this afternoon. Truly, your time and dedication being here in this event is appreciated, as it surely will be beneficial for the work in progress of the legal education in our country. Here now is the Chief Operating Officer of the Legal Education Board as we hear his presentation on the second policy proposal, which is the Ladderized Juris Doctor, Master of Legal Studies program. Attorney A, you may now start your presentation.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Margaret. Good afternoon, Commissioners Alex and all our commissioners and chairperson, as well as our dear stakeholders, deans, faculty members. I think I saw a librarian and all other members of the legal education community. Good afternoon. We now head on to the second half of our consultation this afternoon, focusing on the Ladderized Juris Doctor, Masters of Legal Studies program. Now, it can be recalled that when the revised model law curriculum was first implemented, it was already designed to be developed as a ladderized program. So we initially started with the revision of the model law curriculum, and now the LEB is exploring the idea of a ladderized program that integrates a master's level study inside the JD degree, and we would like to call it a JD MLS program. Now, the MLS program by design is supposedly catering to students who are interested in law but don't necessarily envision themselves to be practicing licensed attorneys. And so the program aims to provide them with the necessary and important legal knowledge and skills to be able to provide services to the community. But these activities will definitely have to amount less than the practice of law. And so with this program, we hope to enable these future legal professionals with the needed knowledge, training, and education. That's why within the JD program, an MLS graduate will have to earn only 50 units within the design. Now, for the motivations, next slide, please. Go back. Now, for the motivations of a ladderized JD program, it's very important that you have to consider that the Juris Doctor or the LLB before was designed for the needs of society of decades past. And so when we see legal education and law in general evolve through the decades, we also have to recognize that the needs of society in connection to law have also changed and evolved. And so we need to make sure legal education responds to these needs by providing a different program for persons who will be able to provide legal services but are not necessarily lawyers. And so the JD-MLS program envisions graduates, at least at the level of the MLS, to be able to provide these legal services beyond the traditional concept of the practice of law. Now, looking at the details of the MLS, for a school, they can offer JD-MLS program, but not requiring more than 50 units of coursework within the Juris Doctor degree program that they have. Within this 50 units of coursework, 7 units are electives. And electives can be any of the courses under the JD program, whether mandated or non-mandated by the RMLC. Of course, only LEIs who are duly accredited with the LEB may be able to offer a ladderized JD-MLS program. Now, if you look at the design of the JD-MLS program, you'll also realize that you can actually infuse a thesis requirement into the program. The thesis, if ever the school requires it of their MLS graduates, can be taken in lieu of the 7 units of electives. Now, understanding the concept that our degree programs now don't have necessarily to be research-based, they can also have other focus. And so instead of a thesis, the school can also require a comparative capstone project towards the end of the MLS journey of the student. In terms of the policy design for instructional standards, faculty standards, admission, and other relevant standards, the policy for the JD-MLS program would just be the same as what the institution has for the entire JD program. So the academic freedom of schools are preserved in terms of how this policy will play out. And then finally, the JD-MLS program is designed or is intended, hopefully, to be available for schools to adopt by the beginning of this incoming new academic year, which is academic year 2023 to 2024. Next slide. So as you can see, these are the units or the courses that are mandated to be taken by a student to be able to finish the MLS degree. These are the courses that can be found within the Juris Doctor degree. Next slide, please. The policy, as it is drafted right now, also provides for retroactive application to enable past graduates of the LLB and also Juris Doctor degrees to be given the same treatment, that they themselves also have earned a master's program or a master's degree, as well as a professional doctorate degree, which is the JD or the LLB in some cases. Next slide, please. And that's it. So we're very interested to listen to all the comments, suggestions, even concerns that our stakeholders have, so that we can make sure that our JD-MLS design can be the best that we can at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Attorney A, for that eye-opening presentation. So at this time, we encourage our participants in Zoom to please raise your hands and raise your questions personally. Just in case that you cannot raise them, you can still send your questions via our Zoom chat box. So our first question for the JD-MLS, what is the rationale behind the 50-unit limit? What is the rationale behind the 50-unit mandated units limit? May we ask the commissioner or any of the commissioners present to please comment on this question?
The rationale for the 43 units are the core courses under the RLMC. These are core courses which are usually very basic for those students who would like to have legal consciousness of the different substantive laws in the course of their study for their Juris Doctor program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would you like to add, Attorney A?
Thank you very much, Marga and Commissioner Alex. To add to the discussion of ComSalex, it's also important that the LEB also compared the MLS program with other master's level degree programs in other non-law areas, and comparatively, the practice outside of law is to have only 36 units, more or less, as the threshold for earned units to earn a master's degree. But in our case, since it is integrated within the JD degree, we're looking at 50 units as the cap for schools to offer MLS.
Thank you for that additional input, Attorney A. Another question says, does LEIs offer thesis in the MLS program? Does the LEIs offer thesis in the MLS program?
Yeah, actually, as I mentioned before, thesis is one of the options that the school can require in lieu of the elective units, so that they can definitely gauge whether their students earn the MLS as they deem fit. But it's not the only way for the students to earn their degree. Schools may opt to have just the units, elective units, or a capstone, an equivalent capstone project. It's important to emphasize, Margaret, that we are encouraging our schools to imagine how they want their MLS graduates to be. And so if they want a research skilled graduates, then perhaps a thesis would be useful. But if they're also envisioning something else out of their as outcomes for their graduates, then we encourage them to see consider other kinds of capstone projects.
Thank you for that response, Attorney A. We have a raised hand from DLSU Manila, Dean De Los Reyes.
Hi, good afternoon. I haven't looked at the civil service rules lately, and I'm trying to contemplate a situation where a government employee took up the JD program, and then at the end of 50 units decides to not proceed. My question is, if they got an MLS instead of their planned JD, would they have better chances at promotion? I mean, can they use the MLS that they got to be promoted to whatever post they want to get? I'm asking that particularly for people who are, they know the civil service law. Would that benefit them?
Yes, thank you for your insight, Dean De Los Reyes. It's in our pipeline to have consultative meeting with the DBM and the Civil Service Commission in order that this will be adopted in the Philippine qualifications framework. As a graduate of a baccalaureate degree, we are in PQF 6, and we are trying to have some conversations with Civil Service Commission so that the MLS will be considered under the PQF 7, and then the JD will be in the PQF 8. Thank you.
Maybe ask Attorney A for additional. Okay.
Yeah.
Dean, would you like to have a follow-up question?
Yes. Let's say that person A is enrolled in School 1, and the School 1 does not offer an MLS. So natapos niya yung 50 units, let's say 40, may portability ba? Pwede bang mag-apply siya sa School 2 na siyang nagbibigay ng MLS? Kasi yung School 1, kung saan siya nag-umpisa ng kanyang pag-aaral, ay hindi nagagawad ng Masters in Legal Studies. Kasi kung baka may mga eskwela na hindi mag-a-adapt ng MLS, pwede ba niyang bitbitin yung credit dun sa kabilang law school na merong MLS, pero karamihan ng units niya kinuha niya sa School 1?
Thank you for that insight. Dean De Los Reyes, may we ask the Commissioner to provide feedback on that insight? Coms Alex, I'm sorry, kindly please unmute.
Thank you for the follow-up question, Dean De Los Reyes. So under Section 12 of the proposed program, we even have a retroactive effect for the graduates of JD or bachelor's degree from LEB accredited programs. Okay, they have to be equally treated and considered to have earned their MLS if they have finished their 50 units without need for the reissuance of the credentials. Therefore, should they transfer to other schools, then the other schools may treat them under some sort of residency program, because some schools they usually prescribe a residency program for those who have already attained such units in other schools.
Thank you for that input, Commissioner Salex. May we ask Attorney A for an additional input on that insight?
Thank you po, Alex, for the framework. To add po to the discussion in terms of pragmatics, so Dean Hill, we still have to recognize that the schools have the academic freedom to determine whether a student, a transferee, will be considered to have fully earned whatever units that they took in the previous school. So if, for example, the new school has a very competitive policy, then they may have the freedom to not consider the units earned from another school. But it's definitely the duty of the accepting school that if they do accept students who have earned 50 units, more or less from other schools, and the latter school has an MLS program, that by admitting that's transferee, they're already considering all the subjects taken up by the student as sufficient for their own program. So it's really the decision of the school in that sense.
Thank you for your additional input, Attorney A. And we have a lot of questions in our Zoom chat box. We'll read them one by one, don't worry. But before that, we have a comment that says, maybe we can include environmental law as a mandated unit. Environmental law can cover topics such as air and water pollution, hazardous waste management, land use planning, natural resource management, climate change, and energy policy. These are critical issues that affect individuals, businesses, and governments alike, and are becoming increasingly important as the world confronts the challenges of climate change and sustainability. May we ask the commissioner or commissioners to please respond on this comment?
We have 43 units for the core courses. The 7 units are elective courses. If the legal education institutions would wish to infuse subject of social concerns like climate change and litigation, that would be acceptable under the 7 units leeway for the elective subjects. Of course, the legal education institutions are free to infuse some of these social concerns in issues, okay, without jeopardizing, of course, the basic and the core courses that is in the draft LEB proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Salex, for that response and that comment. Next question is from Attorney Pagirigan. Dean Tiope. Will this JDMLS become equivalent to the existing masters of law? If so, will there still be any distinction? Again, will this JDMLS become equivalent to the existing master of laws? If so, will there be still any distinction? Commissioner?
The MLS program is a program that is designed primarily for those who have finished their undergraduate degree of any course for that matter, who would wish to embark on legal consciousness and legal inquiry, particularly on the core courses. Okay, the LLM graduates are those who have already finished their JD degree. Therefore, we treat LLM to be a postgraduate degree already beyond what is the professional doctorate degree that the LEB had already stated in the equivalency. Okay, so that is the difference between the MLS and the LLM.
Thank you, Commissioner Salex. May we ask Attorney A for additional input on that question? Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. So yes, definitely, we are actually expanding the understanding that we have of the degrees available in law from the traditionally 3-part program, which is an LLB and then an LLM and then an LLD. What we're saying is that there are differences within these degrees as well. So the MLS is a master's degree under or below the JD level. The JD being a doctorate, a professional doctorate. The LLM and the LLD would definitely be JD, post-JD, or post-professional doctorate degrees. And that's really the difference in terms of the nature of law. Since we are a professional degree, then the normal understanding of a terminal degree, such as in the research degrees, is not entirely applicable. I think, if I may, Marga, I saw a question from Dean Viviana asking if we have MLS grads and they're considered as masters, and then JD would be professional doctorate. What would be the treatment to those who have passed the bar and have LLMs and LLDs? The beauty of this is that even in the existing guidelines, there are additional points granted to people who have earned PhDs and have postdoctorate education and degrees and researches. So the system itself is able to treat people with advanced degrees additional benefits because it's already past the level 8, for example. So similar to us, what we're doing is we're actually trying to recognize correctly that those who are taking their LLM and LLDs are a different league on their own. They're definitely doing post-JD, post-doctorate degrees, and should earn more points than just the JD, and the MLS being just a master's degree below the JD. So hopefully that helps or assists in an understanding of it.
Thank you, Attorney A, for reading the question also from the University of the East, Dean Viviana. I think we have also already answered that. So let's go now to Dean Pastrana. Can LEIs grant an MLS on students who did not finish the JD but have earned at least 50 units before the effectivity of the proposed policy, standard, and guideline? Again, can LEIs grant an MLS on students who did not finish the JD but have earned at least 50 units before the effectivity of the proposed policy, standard, and guideline? May we ask the commissioner to please comment on respond on the question for Attorney
A? Okay, so definitely when it comes to questions about how to treat degrees, you still have to respect that it's a decision of the school. So for example, if a student was not considered to have graduated from the program, then they may not have earned any degree to be equivalent, to be considered equivalent to later on. So it's important that, for example, past graduates of LLB or JD, since they finished the degree, then the schools now can consider them to have earned certain qualifications or education because they finished the program. But for students who did not finish the program before this program was developed, it would be difficult to imagine that non-graduates earning any type of degree. So I guess the answer to that is it's definitely the school's discretion to an extent if they consider the students to have graduated from the program. But if they consider them to have just been discharged honorably, then the person might not be entitled to a equivalency later on. But definitely existing students, they're definitely entitled to it, even if they didn't finish the JD. But maybe there's also other options.
Thank you for that response, Attorney A. I think Dean Pastrana would like to speak up. Thank you, from San Sebastian College, Recoletos. Thank you, Dean.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I asked that question because there is a retroactivity provision, no? I think that is section 12, no, which applies to past JD graduates or past LLB graduates. And this retroactivity provision says that there's even no need, no, for the reissuance of credentials. Now, there is no similar provision, no, that govern those who finished and completed 50 or probably more, no, yung mga naka third year na, second year, third year pa, but for some reason, no, lack units, not to finish the whole JD or LLB program. So I think we're just seeking I guess a more categorical statement, no, in the PSG that LEIs would have such authority also, no, to retroactively grant, no, to apply this retroactively for those who have earned more than at least 50 units in compliance with the PSG. After all, we're giving it retroactive effect. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Dean Pastrana. We will try to consider your insight in our in-bank discussions. That would be a very useful insight to consider.
Thank you to Commissioner Salex. And the next question is from Dean Perez of University of Batangas. I would like to clarify if I'm correct to state that MLS graduates are not eligible to take the bar exams. This is a clarificatory question. If the MLS graduates are not eligible to take the bar exams. Commissioner Salex, would you like to?
The LMS graduate, of course, are not graduates of the JD program. Only JD graduates are allowed to take the bar exams.
Thank you for that response. Commissioner Salex, would you like to add, Attorney A?
Yes. Other than that, it's very important to emphasize that the schools have the burden of determine whether those students who they actually graduate from the JD program are those who are ready and who are proficient enough for the bar exams, given that the MLS is an option for other students who are just interested to study law.
Thank you for that input, additional input, Attorney A. We have a comment from the licensed environmental planner that says public administration law will be a big help for government workers or staff. Would anyone like to respond on that comment?
Actually, Marga, that's also part of the design of the MLS in the future. We like to encourage schools to reimagine how they would like to offer MLS programs for specific areas of concern and need in their communities. If they have lots of, for example, cops or police personnel who enroll in their program, maybe they can develop a program that will cater to the training. And for public administrators and civil servants, if schools have a lot of them as their students, that's also another area that they can definitely focus on as in their MLS program in the future.
Thank you for that input, Attorney A. Commissioner Lorenzo Reyes. Sorry, you just received your message. Are you online? There. Would you like to unmute yourself first? I know you're on the move right now. I hope you're safe. May your EA unmute your microphone, please. Thank you.
Yeah, there. Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you now, Commissioner Lorenzo.
Yeah, I made that comment about the question of my good friend, Dean Hill, De Los Reyes of the De La Salle School of Law, about a student in School 1 who have earned some units leading to an MLS degree who wishes to transfer to another school, School 2. Can School 2 grant the Master of Legal Studies degree to that student? My comment was that it now depends on the PALS, no? The Association of Law Schools, on how they will treat each other. My recommendation is maybe they can agree among themselves to allow or to credit the units obtained by that particular student in Law School 1 who wishes to transfer, or by force majeure, Law School 1 closes because of certain reasons, transfers to Law School 2. Now, it now depends upon my suggestion is, mag-usap na yung Philippine Association of Law Schools on that. Salamat.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes, for that additional input on the question earlier from De La Salle Dean. Okay, for our next comment from Dr. Kenny, what would be the next step after the MLS program in relation to other graduate studies outside the legal track? Would anyone from the commissioner would like to respond on this question? What would be the next step after the MLS program in relation to other graduate studies outside the legal track?
Sorry, if I may clarify for my question, because earlier it was mentioned that the MLS program would be similar to the master studies that are being taken in the regular graduate schooling for those who have already taken an undergraduate degree. So say for example that a student would like to pursue the JD program but is only able to reach the 50 units required for the MLS program, and that student was able to get the recognition and would like to pursue another track after that, what would be the next steps for it? Because I'm just a little bit concerned as regards the curriculum itself, especially when the subjects being proposed are not necessarily taught at a master's level, the common practice in teaching in the master's studies, especially when these subjects are basically the core subjects, more or less the core undergraduate courses for a future lawyer.
Thank you for that, Dr. Ken. Commissioner Salix.
Yeah, thank you, Attorney Kenny. So if you are an MLS graduate, there are legal education institutions in colleges with a track, either a professional doctorate, okay, or a research doctorate or academic doctorate. As for now, the Legal Education Board is designing only the MLS program. Soon, it is one of the pipeline project that there will be a track, after MLS. So your comment is duly appreciated, and it provides an insight for future planning. Thank you.
Thank you for that response, Salix and Dr. Kenny. I have learned, yes, Dr. Dean Romero from the Lasalipa, would you like to speak?
Yes. So many things enter my mind, different scenarios. Like, for example, do I understand it to mean that for LMS graduates, JD LMS graduates, it's possible that there are two scenarios. One is that one graduates from the actual JD LMS program. So there's an independent JD LMS program. Or one enters a JD program, okay, and after finishing the requirement, also graduates from JD LMS. So that's one scenario that I'm thinking about. And the other one is once a student finishes or graduates from a JD LMS program and wants to continue to go to law school and become a lawyer in that same, let's say it's the same institution, then will there be, then the school itself must have to find a way to credit already these subjects taken in the JD LMS program, and then maybe enter third year or fourth year of the actual JD program. So those are the two scenarios. And are we required as an LEI to really have this JD LMS program, or can we just continue with our JD program and say, oh, pwede ka namang mag-graduate na JD LMS? So three scenarios. Okay.
Thank you for personally
Thank
sharing
you.
your thoughts, Dean Romero. Attorney A will have respond on that thoughts of yours.
Thank you, Dean. So some pragmatic answers to your question. Actually, there's really just one degree, one program, the Juris Doctor program. Now, schools can voluntarily transform their JD program into a ladderized program. And by doing so, they are now able to offer a degree at the second year level, which is an MLS. And then even students who do not pursue the third year and fourth year can already graduate and leave the school as MLS graduates. And so those students within the program who advance to the third and fourth year can eventually graduate with another degree, which is the JD degree. So that's why the term is JD MLS, because it's really an MLS that is not independent of the JD in terms of the original design. It's just that the students can, because it's ladderized, can take their MLS and not pursue the JD anymore. So I hope that resolves the first two questions, where the schools are free to choose if they want to transform their JD program, their existing JD program into a ladderized one that will offer MLS a degree at the second year level. The third question po, Dean, in terms of sorry, I missed the third question, but the idea is that the schools can offer, or sorry, the schools are not required to offer the JD MLS program. Sorry, do you recall, Margie? Okay. Sorry, Dean, I forgot your third question.
Attorney Aaron, the third question is, are we required? Yeah, I think you answered, are we required to put up that one? But the second one is, if the school offers both independently a JD LMS and then a JD program, and one already graduated, are we required to also offer independently a JD LMS?
Yeah.
Or the same as what you said before, it's just a JD, and then midway you decide whether you want a JD LMS or continue with JD.
Well, the current PSG does not explicitly say that you could have two programs. One is ladderized and one is the other. But let's say in theory, that the school is willing to host two different programs, a ladderized one and a direct or a non-ladderized one. Then the design would definitely be taken into consideration. Do you have a JD only program because it's more treated as an honors course, so to speak? Only it's more competitive than the ladderized one. So it depends on the motivation of the school. But in theory, if the school really wants to have two different programs, then it will definitely be based on the capacity of the school. But what we do encourage at this instance, at this first few years of the program, is just for schools to just have that option that they can transform their existing JD program into a ladderized one.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you to Dean Romero for sharing your thoughts, as well as Attorney A for your response. Would you like to add some input, Commissioner Salex? Okay, so let's go now to the comments we have in our chat box from University of Batangas, Dean Perez. Just a comment: the MLS program may be useful to other professions like entrepreneurs. We also have the licensed environmental planner, government workers will soon enroll for the MLS degree. So thank you for those comments. And another question: will there be a comprehensive exam after earning all the 50 mandated units from the MLS degree, just in case? Or will the MLS degree be considered as a terminal degree, same with an MBA and MPA degree? May we ask the commissioner to respond on this question? Will there be a comprehensive exam after earning all the 50 mandated units from the MLS degree, just in case they'll enroll? Or will the MLS degree be considered as a terminal degree, the same with MBA and MPA degree?
Actually, in the interest of academic freedom, legal education institution may design whether or not they would like to give comprehensive exams or not. So there are graduate programs that does not require comprehensive exams, but they add units. Because if we have comprehensive exams, that would entail another unit to be added, okay? So it depends upon, as long as the 43 core courses are that is prescribed by the memorandum has been met, the LEIs are free to design whether to call the comprehensive exam from the 7 units elective. Like say, you would say 1 unit comprehensive exam and 6 units thesis writing. So it depends upon the LEI to design. MBA and MPA actually are not terminal degrees because there is Doctor of Business Administration and Doctor of Public Administration. So it's not really considered as a terminal degree because there is still a professional doctorate degree that you can pursue after MBA and after MPA. Thank you.
Thank you for that input, Commissioner Salex. May we ask Attorney A for additional insight on those questions?
Thank you, Marga. In relation to the question about having a comprehensive exam, I think it's very important to reiterate that although we are expanding the concept of legal education, the standards for admission should not be compromised. The schools have to remember that these students who will graduate from the MLS program, for example, will be serving their communities. So we need to be sure that they actually finish their degree with a sufficient skill. The outcomes that your institution requires of them should be present when they finish their second year of studies and eventually if they earn their JD. So which means that if the school strongly feels that they have to be examined through a comprehensive exam for them to be evaluated to have had earned those outcomes, then that may be necessary. If the school believes in other ways of assessment, in, for example, an output such as a project or a immersion project or a thesis, then that can also be equivalent to that assessment. The important thing is we need to preserve the quality of legal education in order to showcase that legal education can definitely have a good impact and prevent instead accusations that we are just expanding and just giving out degrees left and right. So it's very important to emphasize that even with this expansion, this new area of legal education, the quality and the excellence of legal education should be maintained, if not improved. Thank you.
Thank you for that additional insight, Attorney A. We still have two more questions regarding the Ladderized Juris Doctor Master of Legal Studies program and additional one question for the National Legal Education Research Agenda. So next two, will prior graduates be issued an MLS diploma? Will prior graduates be issued an MLS diploma? May we ask the commissioner to respond on that question?
In our PSG for MLS program and the retroactivity clause, there is even a provision there that there is no need for the reissuance of the credentials. Okay, so it depends upon the LEIs for that matter, whether if they will have a ceremony trying to recognize for equivalency those who have finished, those with a prior degree for LLB or JD, for them to receive their diploma for MLS. Otherwise, it's not really mandatory for the LEIs.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Salex. May we ask Sir Thomas for an additional input regarding that question?
It's actually, as mentioned by Salex earlier, it's not really required. So we leave it to the sound discretion of the legal institution.
Thank you, Sir Thomas, for that response. Next question. Oh, before our next question, may we call on the school representative of Cagayan State University, Attorney Dennis Manera, for his question. Unmute yourself.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. Just a clarification. Will the MLS degree be automatically granted if a student graduated dun sa 4-year degree JD course?
May we ask you to please repeat the question, Attorney Manera? Thank you.
Will the MLS degree automatically granted to those students who finish the 4-year degree JD course?
Thank you for that question and clarificatory question, Attorney Manera. We ask Attorney Aaron to respond on your query.
Thank you, Marga. So, sir, actually, the provisions of the proposed program now is that if you have already graduated, pag previous graduates na po ng law before this program was created, then they are considered to have equivalent units or equivalent qualifications amounting to a Master's of Legal Studies as well as a Juris Doctor or Bachelor of Laws. So yes po, meron po silang kaakibat or they're already considered to have equivalent points, for example, during their evaluation. It's just that it's not necessary for them to regraduate or to be issued credentials for them to earn or let's say enjoy that equivalency. Same case po sa ating mga previous LLB graduates when we transition to a JD degree. Even those who were not given a new credential stating JD also are considered to be equivalent to JD. So dito rin po yung case. Sakop din po sila.
Thank you, sir.
for that response, Attorney A. Additional follow-up question, Attorney Manera? Okay, none. So we are
Ma'am,
now,
thank you.
welcome, Attorney Manera. We're down to two more questions, one for the JD MLS program and the NLERA. So if you have additional questions, you may write in our Zoom chat box. Last question for the JD MLS program, what are the qualifications for a school to apply to LEB for the JD MLS program? What are the qualifications for a school to apply to LEB for the JD MLS program? May we ask Attorney A for that?
Well, it's important to emphasize, as I mentioned before, that only those who are accredited with the LEB would be able to offer this JDMLS program, the Ladderized JDMLS program. And for schools who are interested to have this MLS program, they only need to apply for authority with the LEB. And really, this is just for us to evaluate and to record that these are the institutions that are ready to give a Ladderized degree. The actual prescribed form will be, if there is, will be issued along with the final memorandum order when ready.
Thank you for that response, Attorney A. And one last question with regard to the National Legal Education Research Agenda. We have received it late. So the question goes like, on the funding and support, will it be limited to LEIs or will it be extended to individual researchers? This question is for the National Legal Education Research Agenda Policy. On the funding and support, will it be limited to LEIs or will it be extended to individual researchers? We ask Sir Thomas. Okay.
Let me answer that.
Okay,
Martha.
Attorney A, sorry.
Sure. So yes, definitely that's part of the design. Essentially, all research is conducted by individuals. So yes, that's going to be part of design. But definitely there is a preference for individuals who are associated with schools so that their research will be contributory to the goals of the institution as well. But yes, they will be definitely part of the design.
Before wrapping up, let's call on Dr. Kenny Bayudan for additional question or comment.
It's not really a question, but more of a comment. Perhaps the LEB could consider, instead of calling it as a master's degree or giving a title Master of Legal Studies, since by looking at the curriculum, the program is really designed to produce graduates with sufficient theoretical knowledge and the foundations of the law. So perhaps it would be best if instead of a master's in legal studies, it could be called a diploma in legal studies, similar to the other programs, say in engineering, wherein once a student is able to earn the sufficient number of units related to the core concepts of engineering, they can instead earn a diploma in that particular course. So not necessarily a master's equivalent. A master's equivalent. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Dr. Kenny. May we ask Commissioner Salex for a response on your comment?
That's a very good insight, Attorney Kenny. However, the units that we have proposed is 43. Some diploma courses would only require 24. If we try to compare it with the CHED PSG for master's and doctorate program, recently CHED has issued a memorandum for the PSG for graduate education. Their master's degree ranges only from 24 units until 48 units. So our design for the MLS is actually comparable to the Commission on Higher Education PSG. Okay, so but your insight will be taken into consideration in the in-bank sessions and discussions of the board soon. Thank you.
Thank you to Commissioner Salex for your input on that comment. And I think that is the last question for this afternoon's very interactive public online consultation. Oh, sorry, I almost missed the San Sebastian College Recoletos. Dean Pastrana had question. I understand that the target role is academic year 2023 to 2024. However, considering the retroactivity provision of the policy standard guidelines, would it be possible to grant the MLS program to graduating students in July 2023?
Yes, Marga, as long as it falls within the technical meaning of academic year 2022, 2023, 2023, 2024, as far as the school is concerned, then no problem with that.
Thank you for that response. May we hear Miss Christine Angelica Elvinia? Would you like to ask or have your feedback, ma'am? Okay, I think it's just, okay. Yes, ma'am. Would you like to? Okay, you're all right now. Okay, thank you. So I guess that's the last question for this afternoon, but we still encourage everyone to send out their written output, as your influence could help mold the legal education of our country to a bolder future. We have come to an end of this public online consultation engagement for Luzon. We have also done with Visayas and Mindanao. So again, we are very grateful for your presence this afternoon. We will hear now a video message from Commissioner Josefe Surerati to bring this engagement to its conclusion.
Good afternoon, everyone. As the time changes, so does the way we live our daily lives. In legal education, we also see many changes. We saw the introduction of the Clinical Legal Education Program in 2019. In 2020, the pandemic encouraged us to transition into online learning and hybrid learning. In 2021, we worked for the revised model law curriculum, and in 2022, we started the conversation on the Ladderized Juris Doctor Master of Legal Studies program and the National Legal Education Research Agenda. Education is the foundation on which our country is built. It is through education that Filipinos reach their full potential, both as productive members of the society and as responsible and principled citizens. Our consultation today is our contribution in ensuring that legal education will be able to accomplish its purpose of training students for democratic governance and to participate actively in nation building. On behalf of the Legal Education Board, I would like to thank all of you for your generosity in sharing your time and wisdom. Your participation today is a great contribution to the fulfillment of the constitutional mandate to protect and promote the right of all Filipinos to quality education at all levels and to make education accessible to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jojo. We are truly inspired by the wisdom shared by everyone with regard to the two proposed policies from the Legal Education Board. Everyone's presence, dedication, and effort surely contributed in reshaping our legal education as we work in progress and move forward in unison with the judiciary's battle cries and innovation. Before we leave the Zoom meeting room, may we ask everyone to please open their videos so we can document our engagement for this afternoon. Thank you. All right, please show the most beautiful smile you got. Let me just wait for Mariano Marquez, Pool, Cagayan State. Attorney Manera, are you ready? Attorney Tiope? Okay, would love to have your faces documented in the last day of the Love Month. All right, so I guess we're all clear. May we ask the tech team? Okay, so ready? 1, 2, 3, hold your smile. Screen, we have 2 screens. Screen 1, smile, 1, 2, 3. Okay, screen number 2. Please hold your smile, guys. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, so thank you so much again for your presence. This has been Margaret, and see you around. God bless us all.